Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. I am Christy, and on behalf of the National Catholic Educational Association, thank you for joining us for this professional learning opportunity today. Before we dive in, there are just two housekeeping items to note. If you have questions during today's presentation, feel free to use the Q&A window. We will monitor the questions and try to answer them in the allotted time. And finally, at the end of this session, a link will be shared in the chat to an online survey and how to receive a certificate of completion for the webinar. Today's webinar, we are in for a treat: Smart and Financial Aid and Admission Strategies. Making School Choice and Vouchers Work for Catholic Schools is brought to you by Venture Ed. Our speakers today, Darren Geed, Director of Financial Aid Support and Services, and Rachel Craymond, Director of Customer Experience. Welcome to you both. Thank you for being here. In this webinar, Venture Ed will share proven strategies that help Catholic schools expand access for families, make sound policy decisions, and use data more effectively, all while staying true to your mission. And let us start today together, as we do in all things, in prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, I place my trust in you. In moments of doubt and despair, fill my heart with the light of your hope. Grant me the strength to persevere, the courage to face challenges, and the faith to believe in your promises. May your hope sustain me today and always. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I turn it over to Darren Geed and Rachel Craymond. Thank you so much for joining us today. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Christy. That was beautiful. As Christy mentioned, my name is Darren Geed. I'm the Director of Services and Support for our financial aid platforms here at Venture Ed. I've worked for 10 years in higher education earlier in my career. During that time, I focused on financial aid, student support, as well as enrollment. However, I did take some time off and pursued a finance and banking career for 10 years. But when I came back to education 3 years ago and joined Venture Ed, it really felt like a good fit for me. It felt like I was back to where I was supposed to be, and I'm just thrilled to be here. We're talking to you. I'm doing what I truly believe I belong doing. So thank you for having me.
And my name is Rachel Creeman, and I'm the Director of Customer Experience here at Venture Ed. And I have 11 years in experience in the financial aid industry here, working at all levels of family support, school support, and most recently training and consulting schools and scholarship granting organizations, specifically working on a COVID learning loss grant very recently for the state of Kansas. So very excited about all the school choice initiatives going on. And most importantly, I'm a new Catholic school mom here in the Twin Cities area. So very excited to now experience this as a parent and all the wonderful work that you all do as Catholic educators. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. We are just finishing up our first year and have just been loving the experience.
Thanks, Rachel. Just a quick intro into our organization, Venture Ed Solutions. We're an organization that works with schools in the U.S. as well as internationally. In total, we work with about 23,000 schools. If you can believe that number, it's very high for me. We focus exclusively on ed tech solutions. One of the most unique things about our suite is that we can handle the needs of admissions, enrollment, financial aid, tuition and billing, and really meet needs in several different ways based on whatever your unique needs are. Basically, we can work with the entire administrative function and can be handled by our entire platform. So another unique thing about us is that we work with schools and organizations of all different kinds. So we work with faith-based schools, large dioceses. We also work with many independent schools, both large and small. We also work with many different types of camps, so specialty camps, summer camps, sports camps, lots of different organizations who are working hard to provide opportunities for children to do interesting and good things for their future. This wide spectrum of different types of environments and locations bring with them unique challenges based on varying regulations as well as program requirements. So we saw school choice funding expanding over the last few years as one of the many emergent topics that have caught our interest. So we decided to take a look at our platforms and see what we could possibly do to help schools adjust to these new requirements that will inevitably pop up with each unique program. Obviously, this has required us to make our platform more dynamic to account for new programs and data needs as they pop up. Our organization has long worked directly with scholarship granting organizations and with programs that receive money from SGOs. This slide covers just a few organizations that we've built and maintained a long-term relationship with. We have also worked with shorter-term programs like the one Rachel mentioned earlier in her introduction for COVID relief in Kansas. This slide also doesn't include the state of Tennessee, where we recently completed some work. Excuse me, sorry, I got a little bit of cold. Where we recently completed some work that I'll tell you a little bit more about later in the presentation. As you can see, we have a quick snapshot of the current state of school choice. There are roughly 76 programs over 35 states that are assisting around 1.2 million students. This is a relatively large percentage of the overall number of students attending private or independent K-12 schools, and this number is only growing and growing relatively quickly. As you can see by these graphs, they're growing both in the use of vouchers as well as the use of education savings accounts. Voucher use started growing around 2010 or 2014. It started to tick up and has gained a lot of momentum ever since. ESA started to really spike just a few years ago. Both charts here are a testament to the evolving landscape of education and the increasing desire for more personalized and flexible education options. The growth of the use of ESAs has come also due to a concerted effort to improve the accessibility and awareness of ESAs. States have implemented policies to make ESAs more widely available, and advocacy groups have worked to educate parents about the benefits and opportunities of using these accounts. My next slide speaks to another potential uptick in the school choice activity. In fact, this is a really important slide in today's presentation, as it does speak to a great opportunity in the world of school choice. The Educational Choice for Children's Act, or ECCA, is gaining momentum in Washington, and when passed, it will unlock $5 billion annually in federal tax credit funding for private school scholarships. Let me say that again, $5 billion every single year, although obviously that could change year to year, but we're starting with $5 billion the first year. But there is a catch as well as an opportunity. The catch is that this funding won't be distributed equally. Like many programs, it will go to the schools that are best prepared. And here's the opportunity. Schools that know how to identify who can give, like high-income taxpayers with federal liability, and who can benefit, like students from households who qualify for aid. Catholic schools are uniquely positioned to benefit from this program as well as others. But without the right infrastructure, strategy, and partnership, schools risk leaving that money on the table. Let me ask you a question. If you had the data to know exactly each family's federal liability tax was, identify not just who needs the funds, but which families could also benefit from donating funds from a tax perspective, how would that change or simplify your school's ability to raise needed funds? SSS is positioned to make your school choice ready from day one. When ECCA passes, this will not only be about identifying need, it's also about identifying who can find a tax benefit from donating. Our financial reporting tools provide clear, actionable insight that help you connect the dots between donor potential and student need. We have been in great conversation with a company called Redefined over the last couple of months about how they plan to use SSS with the schools they work with to raise additional funds benefiting both the school as well as the donor. And I'd like to provide more information about this after the webinar if anybody's interested. Although ECC has a huge potential to pass and would represent a massive swing in school choice, furthering the school choice momentum, I'd like to run through a quick real-life scenario that we very recently worked through and stood up in Tennessee. So EFS, or the Tennessee Education Freedom Scholarships, whatever you want to call it, launched on May 15th at noon Central, which is a very important time and date for us. So what exactly launched? 20,000 vouchers are available. This particular program is split into two different categories, which is one of the unique aspects of EFS and speaks to how each program varies in structure, size, as well as requirements. 10,000 of these vouchers will also be available to families based on income, and you can see the table on the right-hand side that outlines the income guidelines. As a note, This information was pulled from the Tennessee.gov website, which is where a lot of this information from this section was pulled. This particular website was also where we received regular updates about the program as we were leading up and preparing for the launch of this program. But let's get back to the story here. So 10,000 of them are going to be given to families based on an income level, and then 10,000 of those vouchers from this particular program will be given out regardless of income level. And again, this is unique to this program. Obviously, not every program operates like that. So each voucher is worth $7,295. However, this amount could change next year, and either way will likely not remain static from the years to come. Again, an important detail to remember as I'm trying to set the stage here is that we don't assume that everything or anything is fixed, and that the same number of vouchers will be offered every year, that the same requirements will be the same every year, or that the dollar amounts will be the same every year. These programs tend to be dynamic and change based on lots of different factors. What we do know, however, about EFC is that the number of vouchers offered will double in the second year. So in Tennessee, they'll go from 20,000 to 40,000 vouchers. We also know that this is not the only program running in the state of Tennessee, and that ECCA will likely impact these dynamics for your schools and in Tennessee as early as next year. So as I mentioned, this is an example to demonstrate how we can help you solve for the complexities that will inevitably spring up. So back to the EFS, 228 schools and are growing have already signed up. That was 228 as of March 15th. I think we're probably still there, although I haven't looked in the last couple of days. Independent schools have signed up in Tennessee and registered for this program. Some more details include that each family needs to reapply every year, which is pretty standard in the world of financial aid. And then when they're done applying, they will also need to provide proof of enrollment at the school. How this proof is provided will vary between programs, but we are confident that we have solutions in place, regardless of that need, that we can get that done. After all of this information has been provided in the application to the state can then disperse the funds into an account or a digital wallet of some kind. I also want to take a couple of minutes to go through this screenshot here. Again, this is from the Tennessee.gov website. This is an example of the forms that a family needs to fill out to determine whether they're eligible or not. And remember, the 10,000 are going to be open to anyone, so we'll call them universal scholarships, and then 10,000 are qualified based on income levels. This is simply to say that with any state rollout of any program, you have to be ready for complexity to enter the process in unexpected ways and at any time. Throw in a new website for families to be logging into, different requirements for each program. The website's nothing we control or anything you control. Can obviously get pretty complicated fairly quickly for families. So it's clearly important for private and independent schools who are participating in these programs to help simplify the application process for families. Because honestly, this document, and there's a lot going on in just this 2 pages, is only 2 pages of a much larger application. And we really do appreciate that Tennessee is trying to simplify the steps that families as well as schools need to take to qualify for these. And we are well positioned to partner with them and to partner with you to make this into a smooth process for both the families in Tennessee as well as any families who want to sign up for a program through any of your organizations. And one more slide here on EFS. There's another whole document, a family handbook that is much, much longer than that. It goes through many details for people who need aid. We spent a lot of time researching this and want to throw out a few other unique parts of this program. This is just to give you an idea of the types of curveballs you may run into when navigating school choice. In this program, schools will not be paid in a lump sum. In other words, schools are not getting $7,295 all in the first quarter of the year. They will get half of it, and then over the next 2 to 3 and 4 quarters, the rest is split up. And you can see that, that in the box to the left there on the bottom of the page. Obviously, this complication will need a solution, which is another unique aspect of EFC, this particular program. It's something that needs to be planned for and will impact billing tuition, drafting enrollment contracts, and your expected cash flows due to uneven payments throughout the school year. On the right-hand side, I've included another screenshot from the document because I wanted to also just illustrate there's complexity for the family and for the state in knowing their status with the program. Excuse me again. So this is a financial aid application within a financial aid application. And, you know, everybody's here is used to one financial aid application, but when you throw another one into it, it can certainly complicate things quite a bit for everybody involved. So with an additional voucher program, both the school and the families will have to understand their own status of whether the family's been approved for an income-based grant, if they've been approved or qualified for the scholarship, or if they're just ineligible, or whether they've been denied, and for what reason they were denied for. As you can see in big bold letters, it says in the handbook, please read email and notifications carefully for details, because there are a lot of details to most of these programs. Long story short, we want to help you reduce as much of the complexity as possible by providing the right solutions, as well as being up to speed as possible on what your state requires. I say up to speed as possible because it's difficult to be at 100%, and it certainly requires a partnership. However, we want to help you reduce confusion for applying families and assist in gathering the documents that they need to enroll in these programs. We also want to give you the visibility into the documents and the family's eligibility, so that you're in the loop when questions of eligibility come up. You're able to work with your families in a productive way. So some key questions that we need to consider are, which voucher applicants also need financial aid? And if they still have a need, how much is that? Which voucher applicants could be full payers or even potential donors? We will give very deep insight into this question of donor potential as well as financial need, and which category each family falls into a little later in the presentation. There are questions as basic as, did the voucher applicant gather all the documents they need? Also, how are we going to factor in additional grant sources alongside financial aid and or other school choice funding? An NCEA win pass will likely impact this question, or the answer to this question, quite dramatically. How do you streamline this process so parents are not entering data in 2 or 3 times, and also streamline it for yourselves and your schools? What kind of security is needed? And this one is very important. I want everyone to stop and think for a second about what kind of security you think is needed for sensitive information about tax records, proof of residency, proof of citizenship, and similar information about families. Going to dig deeper into this shortly, as data security is essential and growing in importance, and more data is available online, and more criminals are trying to get at it. How do we find the flexibility that we need to adapt to not only new programs, but also changing requirements and regulatory environments with existing programs? And then finally, once your organization decides that they want to participate in a school choice program, how do we communicate that? How do we get the word out to these families so they know that they can apply, number one, and where to start the application? Oops, didn't mean to do that. Our proposition is that you can use SSS to answer all of these questions to a very high level of satisfaction. And we are continuing to invest in the platform with a strong dedication to building additional functionality to meet tomorrow's challenges. So let's get into how we actually do this. And for this, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Rachel.
Thanks, Darren. And as Darren mentioned, we are introducing our new SSS, which is faster for families, smarter for schools, and trusted by everyone. Now, you may know of SSS from past interactions and may think of us as a complex and robust financial aid product. And while we're maintaining that robust nature of our product, we've also reimagined financial aid through our new partnership with Tax Status. Next slide, Darren. Our SSS solution prides itself on our close relationships with partner organizations such as NCEA, as well as the National Association of Independent Schools and Tax Status. We'll spend a good amount of time today talking about our direct integration with the IRS through Tax Status that makes the process quicker and easier for families to apply for financial aid. That being said, we also continually work with NAIS to update our methodology based on best practices, legal guidance, and significant market research to ensure relevant data-driven assessments. You can rest easy knowing that your financial aid decisions are easily explained and can be supported by sound practices. I'll also mention here, because this is really important for our Catholic schools especially, that we have accessible pricing for families in need. SSS as an organization covers the cost of the financial aid application for any families who qualify for the National Free Lunch Program. What we call the means-based waiver ensures that families who have significant need are not burdened by the application fee. If you go to the next slide, we're introducing this new era of financial aid through this partnership with Tax Status. Tax Status is very well known in the financial industry, specifically used by large banks and wealth management corporations. We've partnered with Tax Status to completely overhaul the process for families. No tax document uploads will be required, and families will be able to complete an application in under 10 minutes. You might say, well, everyone out there is making the process easier for families. What sets SSS apart? You can streamline the process for families, waive application fees for those in need, and deliver equitable awards with comprehensive financial insights. You can have all of those things. Tax Status's proprietary and direct IRS integration gives schools access to not only 1 year of family information, but multiple years of both personal and business tax records. SSS provides not only that personal tax return information from families, but you can also view the full business information that's reported to the IRS, eliminating any need to chase down partnership or corporation tax returns from families who have those situations. Additionally, you will be able to receive real-time updates as a family's situation changes. Think families who file extensions or who file for unemployment due to the loss of a job. As soon as the IRS receives an updated filing or information from the family, you'll have access to their updated records without having to chase down the family for additional documents or make a note to follow up with them at a later date. This is something that only SSS has, and Darren will be talking about this reporting and why it matters in a few minutes. You can also protect your school's mission with a trusted industry-backed methodology, like I mentioned. We work directly with NAIS as part of a task force to develop and update our formula each year that is known for its expertise and credibility. Finally, through Venture Ed, you can unify your admissions and financial aid experience, improve the family experience and school decision-making by combining the power of SSS with our powerful admissions, Ravenna tool, and TADS tuition management platforms, both of which are integrated with SSS so that you can share data seamlessly across your internal teams. The family experience involves a simple two-step process. 1, complete a streamlined application, and 2, consent for IRS data transfer via Tax Status. For schools, you'll receive a completed application without needing any additional documentation, gain a comprehensive understanding of the family's financial situation, and manage all financial aid scholarships through SSS with custom reporting for outside scholarship qualifications. The next page will provide a quick overview of the IRS data consent process through Tax Status's direct integration with ID.me. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see a video will start to play. This shows a quick process that the families complete at the end of the application. And this is for families who don't yet have an ID.me account. They'll quickly fill in a few pieces of information, verify their identity, which is super important that we're adding an added layer of security, that the person who's consenting to these tax records is actually the person that these belong to. They'll provide the consent to pull their tax records after this process. You can see they'll turn left and right to verify who they are. And all this is done in under 1 minute, verification complete, and then they provide consent to pull their tax records. Simple as that. And that's the process for families who don't yet have an ID.me account. The great news is that 46% of Americans already have an ID.me account. Like I said, Tax Status traditionally works with banks and wealth management corporations. So folks who have applied for things like mortgages or loans likely have already completed this process, meaning that families who have completed this already simply need to complete their SSS application and link their existing ID.me account. We hear this all the time, and maybe you've heard it from your families. I don't have time to upload all of my documents. It's a barrier to collect all of that information. The financial aid application is too complicated, requires too much time. And with ECCA specifically coming down the pipeline, we expect more students than ever to become eligible for aid, which means more families applying for financial assistance at private schools. That's where our system will give you a strategic edge. We've made the application process incredibly simple for parents. With ID.me integration, they no longer need to download, print, scan, or attach tax forms. It's fast, secure, and seamless, which means more families apply and you get better, cleaner data. The data becomes your school's competitive advantage. And now I'm going to turn it back to Darren to talk about reporting.
Thanks, Rachel. SSS and tax status is a truly unique partnership. In my opinion, as a leader of support and services, two of the most amazing things about the workflow is that families using SSS do not have to type any data related to their taxes on their financial aid application. Think about how much different that is than nearly every other program platform. No typing of any data, no collection of tax forms before they do this application. Also, and I think this is just as exciting and important, is that schools can trust the data that they see auto-populating in data fields as it comes directly from the IRS. There is no need to audit what the family manually entered against their tax records. So when we're comparing this with your state's specific voucher or school choice program, as well as ECCA, and you have groups of families who qualify based on income level, as well as families with much more wealth, you can easily see which category or where in the middle each family falls. As you can see the different incomes, interest income, dividend income, capital gains, you can see it all right there on this report. You can easily answer the question, are they going to need more financial aid from our school to enroll, or is this somebody who the fundraising office maybe should know a little bit more about? Also, you CFO may want to try and project out into the future what the impact of vouchers could be on your tuition dollars. Also, if the voucher money were to be reduced, what kind of impact might that have on your financial aid budget? When the families are going through this process with SSS, a financial baseline report and many other reports, but this are created, but this one in particular we're most obsessed with, as it generates without the family typing anything. And remember, it comes immediately once that information is sent to the IRS. So you'll be able to see right away. You'll be able to see what their income levels are, where their income is coming from, and what general income bracket they stand in. You'll also be able to view all of this information over 3 years, as Rachel mentioned earlier. Families can also see their own baseline report to get a better understanding of what's going on in their financial life. So this is also very helpful for them personally. Another really cool thing about this report is it combines the power of SSS and tax status together. So one thing that tax status is able to provide us is the taxpaying standard, the taxpayer's standing with the IRS. As you can see, this taxpayer is in good standing with the IRS and they have no outstanding unpaid taxes. Insight like this will help your office look into the future of what a family could be facing in regard to existing tax issues and general financial burdens, giving you an even better insight into just what they can afford for tuition today, as well as what they may be able to afford in the future. So these reports are dynamic, and every single person's report will look much different, depending on how much and what types of income they have made and the taxes that they paid over the last few years. In the box down near the bottom there, we are also able to generate key observations. You can see that the second bullet point here is that there's an upcoming IRS tax audit. We actually will be able to tell the family and your school if they're going to be audited, and we'll be able to do this generally before the family even knows, which is an incredible bonus to get out ahead of any issues they might have coming up. You can also see in the same box that a new dependent was added from last year. Obviously, this is good to know that there's a new child in the family. Although family size is a part of the application, this will call out all dependents and ensure that the correct family size is being used in the NCEA methodology, which impacts some of the calculations. This could also indicate that they have another child applying for aid in the years to come. Now, I am going to turn it over to Rachel in just a second to go over the information on the right hand of this slide, but I'm just trying to give you a sense of what information will be at your fingertips. As important as having this information is, it is also important that we get you out of the practice of throwing IRS documents at you and asking you or your staff to verify that these families' inputs and their IRS documents match. while providing you with additional layers of intelligence, ultimately with less work from you and your families. Okay, I'm going to finally hand it over to Rachel to go over the rest of the slide.
Thanks, Darren. And I also want to call out that top right section there, tax status reporting that highlights modified AGI or adjusted gross income based credits. Most existing school choice initiatives at the state level are based off of federal tax credits. And so tax status reporting really quickly shows you if a family qualifies for these modified AGI-based credits. And our team can then create custom reporting based on the guidelines of any school choice program that you're participating in, meaning that you'll be able to quickly identify yes or no which students qualify for state or federal programs. The other thing I really quickly want to call out about this reporting is that as you're thinking about potential donors to the ECCA program at the national level, it's very likely that the donor eligibility is going to be based on the tax liability of a family, meaning that if you can understand how much a family is liable to pay in taxes, you can also understand how much that any family potentially could give to your school as a part of this school choice program. Super important. We're ahead of the game in terms of helping you identify those families. Darren, back to you.
Great. I just want to point out before we move on that this is just one of the reports that is already developed, and we have the ability to develop more reports as different needs show up. So this is also very customizable for us. So there'll be more coming out as needs pop up. So the flexibility of this is quite amazing. Oh, I hit that button late. So when I mentioned security early on, I like I said, I truly believe this is one of the more important things in our world today. I like to compare what we do with what you would expect. And I asked you earlier to think about what you would expect as far as the security level for tax information, residency information, citizenship information. Obviously, those are very sensitive things to families and people all around the country. And right now, the financial aid industry is going through a reckoning. And I know that we are providing the most secure possible platform for handling this kind of sensitive information. And you're probably going to ask how I know. So here's how I know. First off, well, let's start with our partner tax status. As Rachel mentioned, tax status primarily dealing with the financial industry, specifically wealth management and mortgages. So they already have to comply with things that the ed tech industry never has to deal with. They go through all kinds of security audits, and they have a whole website that outlines their SOC 2 compliance, which lays out their controls, as well as all the ways that they are audited. They perform penetration testing, and their data security is very exceptional. I hope that one day our entire industry will be held to the same high standard. And the second layer of protection is also impressive. SSS is built directly on Salesforce, which is the next best option in security. Salesforce has a website where you can also view the security and compliances and our SOC 2 compliances. They hold themselves to a very high standard from a data security perspective. And this is because they're one of the largest cloud solutions for CRM in the world, meaning they have to go above and beyond to continue to be the best in class from a security perspective. I feel very proud to say that I'm comfortable with any parent going through this workflow and uploading their sensitive information because it is fully encrypted from end to end. That is the entire process, even authorizing SSS to pull tax information from the IRS is encrypted. We as an education technology vendor are providing your parents just a direct way to interact with the IRS that is, like I said, again, fully encrypted, so we are not the middlemen. Even tax status cannot see any of this information. When your families are going through this process and they are interfacing with the IRS and proving who they are to the IRS by doing the face scan and showing their driver's license, or even better, going through ID.me, the IRS employees are able to directly verify this person is who they say they are with no third party involved. We need to hold the entire industry to the highest possible standard when it comes to security, and we feel like we are really setting the bar here. But I'll get off my soapbox and let's get back to the actual topic at hand. Now that I've told you about how we handle sensitive information, I'm going to hand it back over to Rachel to go through how we can solve any school choice challenge that we may encounter in the future.
Thanks, Darren. And outside of tax status, we also have several other functions that can support your school's implementation of school choice initiatives. We've recently enhanced our custom questions to allow for an unlimited number of additional questions to be asked of families. with many types of formatting available. This means you could ask custom questions of families to gather a full picture of eligibility for outside scholarships. Things like residency, claiming status of children, participation in public assistance programs, really anything that's published as a part of those state or federal initiatives. This is also a great place to ask if a family is receiving an outside scholarship to identify those students in your reporting. In Tennessee, for example, a lot of veteran or military families receive what's called the Folded Flag Scholarship. So this could be a great place to understand who's receiving those. Plus, you can collect custom documentation from families to support the process for applying for those outside scholarships, ensuring that families have the correct qualifying documentation, as we know that one of the big challenges of these school choice programs is communicating with families that they're available and ensuring that they complete that full application process for those scholarships. Families can either upload this documentation to the portal, or you can upload on your end for safekeeping in the SSS portal if you have families who you know who you'll be helping with the school choice application process, as we know many of you wear many hats at the schools. On the next slide, you'll see we also have a financial aid planning tool on each student application that allows you to plan all sources of funding for a student. On each student's financial aid plan, you can account for all tuition and additional expenses of your program, account for sibling or parish discounts, determine the estimated family contribution based on our NAS methodology, and see what our system is saying the financial need is based on the tuition of your school. On this financial aid plan, you can then qualify each student for outside vouchers or scholarships through custom reporting and any other questions or documents that are collected through SSS. The next slide shows how you can then use budget groups to track all financial aid, scholarship, tax credit sources. Schools can create budget groups for any internal or outside scholarships and directly award aid amounts from those buckets to the student. And they can do the same for any of their internal financial aid awards as well. As schools add these awards, whether they're internal or external, values of total aid awarded and unmet financial need get updated in real time, and you can easily see how much need is left for the school to address once vouchers or outside scholarships have been applied. This type of awarding can be done on both the individual level, as you see here, and done in mass through our mass awarding tools. So if you have a lot of students qualifying for these different school choice programs, you can easily identify those students and apply the vouchers. This new era with tax status closes a loop between admissions, financial aid, and enrollment. With all our Venture Ed products, you can easily manage the admissions process, financial aid applications, and can easily tie financial aid awards and scholarship credits to contracts and admissions offers. It's fully connected, seamless experience that improves operational efficiency and the family experience at the same time, because we know that both are important. To wrap things up, the SSS advantage is strong, particularly for schools that are navigating these new school choice initiatives. As Darren mentioned, it's an ever-evolving landscape. Our integration allows for direct, secure, and quick integration with IRS data, with access to data across multiple years, along with proactive account updates as things change in a family's financial situation. This, coupled with our partnership with the NAS methodology and practical awarding tools, make us an easy choice for your navigation of this new landscape. Now is the time also to think about building your internal database, to track your donor potential, to map your community's need, to align your tuition models, all of which is possible within the SSS system. Our system is equipped to help schools win, from donor engagement to scholarship applications. We're building out the system to make ECCA readiness not just possible, but simple and scalable. Because when this legislation passes, and it's no longer a matter of if, but when, the schools who are ready will benefit first. And we're here to make sure you're one of them. Thank you. And I think now we can turn it over for a time of Q&A. And so if you have any questions, you can go ahead and post those in the Q&A chat. We're also happy if there's anything that, you want to follow up with us after the webinar, we can provide that information as well, but we'll open it up for a live Q&A now. And as folks are getting those in, I'll pick on Denise, who asked a couple of great questions during the webinar. Denise asked, will ECCA be available to all states? And yes, this is going to be federal school choice legislation. As Darren mentioned, right now it's slated to be a $5 billion investment. How it will work is that families and schools will be able to contribute to scholarship granting organizations that are specific to their school. And it's going to be a one-for-one tax credit, meaning that they'll get a credit for the full amount that's donated to this program. So that's why identifying the potential donors in your student body or community is going to be really important, because the more funds that you have available to your students, the more funds, of course, that you can distribute. It's going to be a very viable option for folks who are very tax savvy and are interested in those tax credits. And it's important that your school community is aware of that coming up.
Yeah, good answer, Rachel. I wanted to just make it clear that, instead of the 35% tax break you would get on any normal or typical charitable giving, this is actually 100% benefit to your tax bottom line. So huge deal, very unique in that way.
Great. And Denise also asked if we know, if we expect to know when ECCA is passed, when it will then go into effect. So right now, and Darren mentioned our close partnership with Redefined, who, as a small plug to their organization, they do a ton within Catholic schools specifically to promote enrollment and support fundraising. They're just an incredible organization. They focus specifically on Catholic schools. So if you're interested in learning more about them, we'd be happy to connect you. But they actually are on the task force for the ECCA. And so we get a little bit of inside intel. Right now, we know that it's going through the reconciliation process, very likely to pass within the next month. Likely will go into effect in 2026, meaning this is going to happen pretty soon. So that's subject to change, of course, with anything in the government, but important to be ready and aware for that coming. And then Marianella, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. Is the formula customizable? Yep. So there are a couple pieces of our formula that are customizable. With the NAIS methodology, we try to stick true to best practices that are recommended as we go through a significant process each year of understanding what's happening within the economic landscape, political landscape, what are legal practices that we need to consider. And so there are pieces of that are very rigid, but there are pieces of the formula that you can customize. And so if you're interested in that, I'm very happy to follow up with you directly to talk more about the customizable pieces. Great questions. Give it just another minute or so for questions to come in. Okay, and Christy, I think I can turn it back over to you to close.
Rachel, thank you so much. And Darren, thank you both for these valuable insights here today for our schools and families on school choice and the impactful ways that you support all of the options to help them succeed. This is wonderful. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us.
No, thank you. And I'm just going to give a few more moments to catch them. If you have anything you'd like to add in the chat, please feel free. There's still time left to hit up these experts while you have them live and in person. While we wrap up here, I'd like to our attendees today, thank you for attending this NCEA webinar. We continuously strive to improve the quality of our services for our members based on feedback, and we'll use your input to inform our future work. So in the chat, if you check the chat box, there is a link to a survey there. Should just take a moment to complete. And if you are interested in a certificate of attendance, please include your email address and name at the end of the survey. It will be sent via automated email. And check your filters if it doesn't come right through. And with that, I just see some gratitude in the chat for you both. Thank you for your time here today and for what you do for our schools and Catholic education. Both of you, Rachel and Darren, thank you. May God bless you in your continued efforts to expand access, lead with wisdom, and use your gifts and data faithfully in service to the mission of Catholic education in partnership with NCEA. Thank you both.